Okay, so there were so many great ideas today. I'm just going to touch on a few things, but also I also wanted to thank everyone who helped put this summit together, and our amazing technology committee. August is the head of that, and other folks on that committee like Andrew and Suki and others went out and found these incredibly good speakers, a lot of whom are not in the CI field. They're basically from the leading technology companies and working on some of these leading technologies. So I think for me, it's been a really dizzying array of information today, but it's really piqued my interest in a lot of things, and not just educated me, but made me sort of excited for some of the things that are going to happen. And I also, one of the things that I experienced today in listening to all of these speakers, especially those from outside the CI field, but some from inside as well, is that they're very excited about what's going to happen, that there's a lot of good things coming. Maybe we've finally gotten to where some of these things like AI are going into a more realistic and mature situation where we're going to start getting some really interesting outputs from them, and that will really apply to our field and make our jobs not just easier, but also more accurate and even more secure. I thought that was a very interesting theme that ran throughout. I'm not going to repeat all the names of these speakers, but we had 20 speakers, including the moderators and so on. And I think that's a lot for one day. And tomorrow we're going to have another group that will be just as interesting. I'll recap that a little bit for you at the end. I would say that what I liked about this too is the topics that we had sort of ranged from where we are today to where we're going. And that was part of our planned process where we wanted to say, here's where we are, and maybe tomorrow a little more of where we're going tomorrow. I thought one of the things that was interesting to me was that there were, as Cynthia said, some real timelines put out there. You don't always find that with technology. And one of the examples just in the fireside chat just now was the being able to get sort of what you have now with machine translation and be at that level for analysis in our field. And that's a pretty big thing. And we're looking at 3 to 5 years. So, that's really near term. We used to think that in strategic planning, 3 to 5 years was long term. It's not that anymore. I'm hoping that you were able to attend all the sessions, but you will be able to go back and listen to the recording, because we addressed, what we're doing with all this data that we have, how we can apply today's technology tools to what we're doing today. Some of the veteran users of the tools were able to share some advantages that they've found from them. And that's something practical you can take back and work with right away. Also, where to use this in the intelligence cycle. And I particularly found that interesting because of the focus on primary and secondary research. And I felt like the fireside chat was really eye-opening. We had 2 people who could really talk about the advantages of the products and where they would be when we need them. And I think that there was a consensus around why some of these technology products actually fail, or we cannot get adoption within the CI organizations because they didn't solve a problem that was identified by the profession. And we've seen that in all kinds of technology arenas, including other industries and channels. Someone will build a product because it can be built, and then the use for it is not what they expected, and that's very troubling for those investors who put a lot of money into that. So what some of our people were saying, and it was a real consensus, was please work with us and have us help you understand what the need is, and then your product will be purchased and it will be utilized by the companies that buy it and their people. I think that giving a poor definition of a real problem came up many times, not just in developing new technology, but in how it's going to be used inside of intelligence organizations. I think that's a big thing for everyone to focus on. And in the chat feed, many of the participants indicated that they really wish that they would be asked that by technology companies so that they could be helpful in getting things where they need to be. I think a couple of really big things that hit me today were the conversations about the metaverse. It sounds so futuristic, but it's coming sooner than we think. As Bob Gourley said at one point, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. There were a lot of good taglines today, like lowering the cost of curiosity and solving the wrong problem. I think you can take a lot of those things away. Small data is the future. So we've gone from big data, now we're talking about small data. And I think that probably pertains a lot more to the intelligence process. As far as the metaverse, getting back to that, how do we protect the information about our companies that might be in these environments? And how do people know they can trust us when we're in there? Big takeaway there. That the next big innovation would be evolutionary instead of revolutionary. Makes sense to me. And the analyst will still be doing the heavy lifting in these intelligence projects. A lot of talk about how technology is not the be-all, end-all. It is an enabler for the CI process and the CI professional. Many, many comments about AI. I won't try to recap them all, but I think this constitutes a real education in what works with AI and will happen with AI in the future. I think Craig, in the chat, there were many things in the chat that I found interesting, but one was Craig suggesting that we use pre-mortems most often. That gets back to how are these products being developed that we might use in CI, and how can they be more tailored to what we actually want to do with them. The horizon scanning example in the first presentation, I think that's something I might apply immediately. I had not thought of it in that context. So I like the 3 obstacles that came out in the fireside chat. The first one being a boring obstacle or obstacles where the organization maybe has technology interfaces that are old, maybe have access issues. That's already happening with many, many people. And that's something that, maybe the creators or the innovators don't find very innovative, but it's really important in order to make everything work for the CI profession. Trust issues, how do you get the adoption internally? And that's apparently become a problem, maybe because of some disappointments in the past when the problem wasn't well defined. But it's something that really needs some work at this point. And a tool seems to be the right tool for the job, but the job is the wrong job. And I think I've seen that in all kinds of industries. Because it is not always defined as well as it should be before you start building something. It's a very costly mistake. I think that a lot of the technology developers and people using the current tools talk about how they have to focus on the human side, on the needs of the user. And that's a very good progression so that maybe some of those adoption issues will go away as we go forward. I liked the phrase, there will be no shortage of the need to change and adapt in these new environments. And I think that's sort of the capstone to the whole day, because that's what we have to take away and understand. So I really hope that tomorrow you'll tune back in to experience even more of these insights. When you come back in tomorrow, don't forget to visit our sponsor booths. Our sponsors are Aurora WDC, Commentelli, Tyson Hines, Crayon, and Sedulo Group.